Hello and welcome to the Last Word on Spurs. We are your award-winning Tottenham Hotspur podcast, and we are back ahead of Spurs playing Nottingham Forest in the Premier League on Sunday. Yes, to confirm, it is Sunday, 6 p.m. kickoff for those that, of course, are listening and watching this show via the UK. Of course, it was meant to be Monday. There was a planned rail strike, which has now supposedly been pushed back. But as far as we understand it, Spurs are still planning to play on the Sunday and not revert us back to the Monday. Just to confirm, if you're listening for the very first time, you can find us on iTunes, we're on Spotify, we're across all major audio platforms. We're, of course, on X, we are on Instagram, we are on Facebook too. I'm delighted to be bringing you a wonderful panel. We're looking ahead to Forest to come in the Premier League to Spurs. We'll be discussing, of course, also the fallout from the game, of course, against West Ham United. We'll be discussing glimpses in terms of the midfield debate, in terms of what Spurs should line up with ahead of Forest to come. We'll be giving you just a bit of a glance in terms of Spurs' financial results that came out earlier in the week. And, of course, we'll be looking ahead to, of course, Spurs' next Premier League game on the horizon in this big match preview, of course, Nottingham Forest, the return of Nuno Espirito Santo, the Nuno Derby, however you want to name it, call it, frame it whatever you want. We are here for it. Delighted to welcome back to the show his ever abundance in the Spurs Stadium. And I know I've completely and utterly missed up the intro, but I'll be bringing him back in a second. We've got the wonderful Timmy Winstone over at Spurs Song Sheet. Tim, I'm improvising. We're going to hear from you in a second. How are you?
I'm very good. See, the illusion of me playing it, Ricky, live is obviously... hold on.
Absolutely.
The amusing bit is, I haven't got a stadium in my house, so it's obviously not me playing live, right? But yeah, I'm really good, mate. Really good to be back on the show. It's great to be on with Davina and my Italian stallion, Simone, that we share a lot of shows with, so that's great. And yeah, really look forward to the show. Absolutely buzzing for the game of the weekend, especially after the Villa result last night. So yeah, all good, mate. All very good.
Fantastic. And for those that didn't know what was meant to happen in that intro, what was meant to happen is we were meant to hear Tim live and direct from the Spurs Stadium, but because I have two kids, one of one and one of three, my head has mentally gone, and really you should have not known that. But there you go. I've completely utterly messed that up. But you'll hear from Tim in just a second. Welcoming back to Last Word on Spurs. Always fun and games. We've got the wonderful Davina Pindoria back. Davina, we've seen your life for those on X about how you've enjoyed your world trips around India and what's to come in Sri Lanka. How are you? Love to be back with us.
I'm great. Thank you for having me back. Looking forward to the show today and, yeah, the game on Sunday, especially after the result yesterday, the Villa City result. And, yeah, we just need to capitalise on that.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally agree. And it's funny, isn't it? Because when you do the nature of these shows straight after the West Ham game like that, there was a massive bit of disappointment that Spurs didn't go and get the 3 points. But it's funny how the mood just slightly changed slightly on the back of course, the nature of obviously Villa going to Man City and getting absolutely smashed up. Delighted to have back on Last Word on Spurs. Always a pleasure. Always smiling. It can really be the wonderful Simone Dell'Uomo from Sport Italia. Simone, my man, how are you?
I'm fine, mate. Absolutely delighted to be back on, to be back on the show. So delighted to start again talking about our mighty Spurs.
Absolutely. Look, again, like I say, just to give you again that rundown tonight, we'll be discussing the fallout, of course, from that game against West Ham United. Some of the players that did impress, some that didn't. Of course, what's to come for Spurs in terms of these next 7 days or so ahead. We'll be also delving in to the fixtures remaining for the respective clubs in that battle for the top four, although Ange absolutely hates the mention of a top four battle, as you guys know. Like I said, touch upon those financial results in a little bit of detail. I can use some, obviously, details around them. But look, it gives me a pleasure to say Tim is back on Last Word on Spurs. And for those that don't know what Tim does, here's just an idea, or more than an idea, here's a sample of what Tim does at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Kazoo.
There you go, the wonderful Tim Winstone over at Spurs Song Sheet. I'm going to get the next melody there straight on the way this show is going. Listen, thank you so much for joining us, building audience here on Last Word on Spurs. Look, let's open up with the show because I think, again, we would come to you at a time where, look, as many know, we call it a transition season. Everyone hates the word transition because, again, it kind of mainly goes towards the fact that it's going to be a season of ups and downs and inconsistencies, which really it has been for Spurs to some degree. But Tim, we'll start with you. Look, you've had the pleasure of being in that stadium, playing there for most of the time so far this season. I mean, look, the takeaways from that 1-1 draw against West Ham, obviously, of course, Spurs failing to take the opportunity to move into the top four. Again, a day later, we then see Man City comprehensively beating Aston Villa in the Premier League. I think the biggest takeaway for me, Tim, was the disappointment that we had not been able to capitalise on what was a very tired West Ham towards the end of that game. Spurs had already played 10 games more than them at this point in the season and did not make a single sub compared to our 5. And I think it's really important to make the point here, Tim, that Spurs were only 1 win and 3 points away from matching our total points for last season, still with 8 games to play. So is it a constant reminder, Tim, that whilst the results have been fairly inconsistent in differing, we are on the right track?
100%. I mean, yeah, I think the difference is, I guess, if you look at last season, I mean, we think if we go away to West Ham, everyone's probably hiding behind the sofa, you know. So now we're going there. You know, forget where they are on the table. That derby is a proper derby, isn't it? You just got to see it that way. So, and I thought, yeah, second half we came out really well. I thought we played well. We just didn't have the cutting edge. I mean, the doggish chance at the end. I mean, everyone's just. God, if we won it in the last minute, what a different atmosphere we have now, right? We'd be sort of, absolutely buzzing and stuff. It just shows you football's a game of it's fine margins, isn't it? As everyone always says, it's the best known cliche in football, that one. But yeah, I was kind of happy with the way we come out. I thought we played pretty well. Obviously, they were good in patches, but they didn't really create much. Again, it's for me the biggest frustration is another goal from set piece. You know, I know we're probably going to come on to it later on, which in the end that's cost us the 3 points. Yeah, I was hopeful City would beat Villa. So I think you said it on one of the shows. Villa lose to City. United have got Chelsea tonight, and they got Liverpool on the weekend. We beat Forest. I think one of the guys said 7 points out of 9. You take it. And where we like you said, I mean that stat's unbelievable from where we were last season to where we are now. We obviously banked a lot of points early doors in the season. I think, again, I've heard this said a million times. If you'd said we'd be playing like we did at the start of the season, if you flipped it around, we'd be absolutely buzzing now, wouldn't we? So you've just got to look at it. Seasons it's a long season. I always said the best team wins the league because it's such a long season. You've got to deal with injuries. We've had a lot to deal with, admittedly. And I'm happy with where we are. I'm happy the way we're coming back in games. We're not firing all cylinders. We haven't really since that horrific Chelsea match, which we all go back to. I know when we were top of the league and just absolutely playing some of the best football I've ever seen. So I'm happy with the grittiness of getting back in games. You just think fine margins. A lot of these games that we're winning at home from losing positions. It's not great being losing positions. We could be 10, 12 points worse off had we not turned those games around. So you've got to look at it that it's not just one game we've turned around. We've turned around a lot of those games and we're going to the end. So yeah, overall, man, I'm happy with where we are. And I'm hoping 5th will be fine for Champions League, but I do want top 4 because I think it'd be a great achievement playing the style of football we're playing. Because we could have got if we'd have got top 4 last year, we'd have just stunk it out. It was we didn't deserve top 4 last year. So overall, I'm happy, mate. To be honest, I'm not ecstatic because I know we can play a lot better, but it is that work in progress that everyone hates saying. We're on the right track. We're sticking to the method, I guess, is the main thing. And again, next season's the biggest test of all, isn't it? We've got to sort of see where we're going to be next year, mate. That's
fair. I mean, look, Tim, I've got a cheek saying this to you on Last Word on Spurs, given the nature of my internet crisis, but I think your Wi-Fi is jumping up and down like Spurs this season in terms of inconsistency. So what we might allow you to do, we might allow you to quickly do a reset and come back and join us. And whilst we let you do that, I'm going to come around to Davina if I can. Davina, looking back... No problem. Looking back at that West Ham game, and look, I mean, you've had the pleasure of being away for a month. I know Spurs haven't come out of your life. I know you've still been keeping an eye on them for your sins, if you want to take it like that. But that game against West Ham was a very cagey game. I mean, many felt there was too many safe passes from Spurs during the game, despite really Spurs playing most of their play in the host half, in the second half in particular. But, Spurs head into that game knowing that there's the opportunity to break into the top 4 with Villa facing Man City on the Wednesday. I mean, Spurs still have that extra game in hand now over them. But again, I'm trying to look at positives at the moment because I know at the moment there's a frustration in relation to maybe the inconsistent nature of Tottenham. But I think it's, again, just the nature of the season kind of sums it up. Spurs are just the full side to gain at least 20 points from winning positions in 22 and drop at least 20 points from winning positions in the Premier League 20. And that follows Southampton in 1994, Everton in 2012 and Spurs in 2012-13, which maybe sums up the roller coaster of supporting Spurs this season. How would you sum up the current form guide for you about Spurs at the moment?
I think it's just the nature of the way that we play. And like we've said, it's the first season of our rebuild. I think people need to understand. And I think this is one of the biggest problems with our fan base is that we don't have patience. In the last 4 years, we've had 4 different managers plus 2 interim managers. So that's 6 in total. We now have a manager who plays a different style of football and has a different football philosophy than the last managers that we've had. So of course our results are going to be up and down. However, we didn't go into this season thinking we're going to smash it. I mean, Spurs fans at the beginning of the season were quite subdued in terms of our expectations. This season, what we wanted to see was a definitive style of play and an identity. And I think if anything, we have come away with that. And sometimes it doesn't work as well as we want to, but we know what we are trying to achieve. And that's the main thing that's come out. Like you said, we're 1 win and 3 points away from our total points that we got last season. I think arguably this year's league is stronger than last year's league. With the games that we have left to play, I think we can get a win against Forest, a win against Burnley, a win against Sheffield United, maybe beat either one of Newcastle or Chelsea away, one of City and Arsenal home. We've got a good chance to end the season really well. And I think the current collective of players that we have, the want that they have to win. I mean, talking about the West Ham game, the Spurs admin tweeted a video of I think it was Spurs or it was TNT Sports, sorry, who tweeted the video of all of the players walking back through the tunnel and it was dead silent. They understand what it means and what the fans want. So I think the inconsistency, cool, we just have to deal with that. And the good play will come. We just have to stick by the team, stick by the philosophy, and we'll be fine.
Yep. I think the hard thing, Davina, you kind of sum up there for us, is the fact that trying to have patience is really hard when you've had 20 odd years. Obviously, the
I understand,
frustration of being told we're in another transitional season. But I mean, again, look, I think Anne's just shown us, Simone, a lot of good things so far to believe and trust the process. Although, again, there's been that opinion, Simone, to some degree, maybe Spurs have been slightly found out. But, a very good, stat that comes up here from King Oddle, regular viewer listening to the show. He said, look, the first 15 games, Spurs obtained 27 points. The next 15 games, 30 points. It doesn't really suggest Spurs have been sussed out. So, Simone, what are you making at the moment with regards to the way Spurs are playing? Is there a concern, or is it just the nature, again, of a new season, new manager, new system, and it's taking time for things to bed in?
I think it's pretty natural, guys. Absolutely natural. I think in the first few months of the season, everyone was flying, but it was a sort of surprise. This is the real dimension. This is a project. This is a long-term project. So we have to wait for the future. There are many issues. There are many things to improve in the team right now, and so it's a process that we have to follow every step. I know that Big Ange knows what he wants, and this has to be the most important thing. That game, that Chelsea game, early November, changed a little bit the perception of the run that Spurs were leading. But this is a long project. So I wanna see the real Tottenham Hotspur next season. What's gonna be the real? I was listening to the Dejan Kulusevski interview a couple of days ago. He was just stating once again the importance in the dressing room of Big Ange Postecoglou, and the most important thing for Big Ange is to build something, to build what we are, what we need to be, and we is us. He was stating. So I'm really looking forward to see what this journey will provide Tottenham to be the next level.
Yeah, I mean, look, Simone, I totally agree. There's still a lot of positives in there. Again, I think I hark back to the fact that, I think had we had that start, which Tim referenced, obviously, now, and you flipped it and you had obviously the kind of inconsistent nature of Tottenham in the last, 2 or 3 months, then I think there would be such more, you know, optimism, if that's the right word, or essentially, so much more joy in relation to the way we're playing. But I think, many can see there's lots of good traits with Spurs that we can, I think, really buy into. Of course, when you consider the fact that in the summer, hopefully Spurs are going to hopefully improve the first team. We'll come on to that more with relation to the financial statements that we've had from the club in obviously the earlier part of the week. I mean, Tim, look, talking about positives, I think that there's one man who no doubt at the moment should really be taking a lot of positives. That's Brennan Johnson. He's in a fine run of form for Spurs. You look at the stats at the moment for him: 5 goals, 7 assists in 24 Premier League appearances. I think it's 12 goal and assist contributions overall. I mean, he really is capturing some decent form here, despite the fact he was written off very early on. Like Spurs fans write players off very, very on into their Spurs career. But how impressed have you been, Tim, with the way Brennan Johnson has really stepped up over these last couple of months? And is it just a case now, as Davina says, we've got big games on the horizon, Anfield as well. We obviously need to go to Stamford Bridge at home to Arsenal. Obviously, doing it in those big games as well will further enhance what a tremendous signing he's been for the club so far, right?
Yeah. Can you hear me better now, by the way? Is that a bit better?
Got you loud and clear. You're all good.
So I'll just close a load of windows down. I mean, it's just typical football fans, isn't it? People write players off when you got to think we've bought him in. He got thrust into the starting lineup when, I guess, had we not had all those injuries, maybe they'd have sort of gently integrated him to the team. So he's been thrust into a team that's a different kettle of fish to Forest on a massive transfer fee. There's a lot of pressure on him. I can't remember the game. There was a moment when it might have been his home game, and he's just basically harried his man down and set up a goal from just chasing it back. That was the moment for me. I was like, Jesus Christ, this guy's putting in a shift here, and his crossing's improved. He's beating his man. If you play as a winger, you've got to have confidence, right? Because the whole point is to beat your man down the line and get a cross in. If you're not playing with confidence, you see a lot of players cut back and pass back, don't you? A lot of the time, backwards passing, which every football fan hates, by the way. But yeah, I've been really impressed. Again, like you said, contributions, his stats speak for themselves. He just turned into a great signing. I mean, first season is always a difficult thing. We've seen many players come in, haven't we? First season on big transfers and just absolutely wilt and just fall away and have never made it back. So I particularly the last 3-4 games. Again, I know it's been used more as an impact sub, which is to be fair, Ange, it's worked really well. And where sort of Kulusevski's form's dipped, he's sort of come in and well, had we not had him, where would we be? So yeah, really impressed, and I'm hoping bigger tests to come, aren't they, against the bigger clubs? You got better defenders. When we come up against that brutal April, that'll be a real test. And obviously, Ange, I think he obviously trusts him now. So I'm hoping again a whole pre-season under Ange. So next season he comes back and is even better. So yeah, for me, great signing. Again, I was never one to write players off. And I just think people jumped on the bandwagon. He's kind of he made a scapegoat, wasn't he, for a couple of sort of average performances, and then you could argue a lot of players had average performances in those. So yeah, I'm really hoping he sort of stamps his authority on the starting lineup now, because on form I'd play him above Kulusevski at the moment, and I love Kulusevski to bits. He's just he's not hit the form of last season, and. Just unfortunate. The goal we gave away on the weekend sort of came from him, didn't it? Giving the ball away at the top, and then Luton go down the other end of the score. So it's not sort of rolling for him. So I'm hoping to see him start on Sunday. Yeah,
I mean, you referenced, obviously, Tim, the brutal April to come. Again, we are very lucky to have some really knowledgeable viewers and listeners that tune into the show live. Richard there says that we're undefeated against the top three, and 2 of them games have been at home. I mean, I think the feeling is, Davina, Spurs will hopefully raise their game for the bigger sides, like to be they've done really during the course of the season. But I just want to pick up on what Tim said there with relation to the kind of test of the wingers at the moment. It's fair to say Brennan Johnson is hitting form. One player that hasn't really found his form, I say, really, in this last 3 or 4 months has been Dejan Kulusevski. I think a player that, when we first saw him break onto the scene at Spurs, I think all of us were so excited about the potential of the guy, and I think we can all see his quality. I think the biggest frustration is really, number one, why can't we see it on a consistent basis? And then 2, is it because we just haven't found his genuine best position? I mean, where are you in terms of the Kulusevski conundrum with regards to the position? Because look, you're on X like me. You see the takes of some people in terms of the posts. I mean, look, we went with everybody on X. We wouldn't have any squad, and we'd be selling them all. So, I mean, you tell me, Davina, where are we in your mind in terms of the wingers so far, and whether it's just a case of finding the right role for Kulusevski rather than not being the right fit for the system or Ange in your mind?
I'm of the opinion that I do think Kulusevski is a good footballer. And I know after the West Ham game, there was a lot of discourse that, I saw one tweet and it was like, Kulusevski is useless. And that wasn't, I'm never one to call a player out and give that sort of criticism, because it would be a different case if we didn't know how well he played. Like you said, when he joined us, we thought he was like the best thing since sliced bread. And that footballer is still there inside. We know his quality and he has glimpses of it. I mean, like, one thing that I remember, like, one point of this season that he had a great game was like Man City away. Like, he had a great game. And that Kulusevski is still there. I mean, we just need to persist. And there are always players in our team who will have inconsistent periods. I mean, like, there are even people saying that Maddison is not a great player, even though we know how brilliant he was at the start of the season. Players will have their ups and downs, and you can't just sack him off, bin him off when he hits like a bump in form. And I think I am of the opinion that Kulusevski still does belong on the wing. I don't think we need to completely ignore that's where his position is. I think we just, on the weekend, I do want to see him start. I don't want to see him dropped. We need to persist, because we know how good of a football player he is, and we've seen that. So it's not like it's it's not like it's a gamble that we don't know how he's going to perform. He's not been in form or at his best recently, but that football IQ is still there.
Okay. Listen, I think that's fair. I mean, look, Simone bringing you in, just to obviously ask you about the situation around those kind of wingers at the moment. Brennan Johnson is in form. Kulusevski not so much. What's your feeling in relation to both of those guys? I mean, you were here when Spurs signed Brennan Johnson towards the end of the window, and likewise Kulusevski, you joined us at a point where you knew the guy very, very well from obviously your time and obviously watching him in Serie A. Feeling on both of those wingers for you and how they're doing at the moment?
Yeah, I was, first of all, I was not a big fan of Dejan Kulusevski when he firstly joined the club, and I said it many, many times. But of course, it surprised me a lot. Of course, it's easier to play alongside the likes of Harry Kane, both, and Heung-min Son in the 3-4-3 Antonio Conte's system at the times. But of course, he did well. I think that, guys, the potential of Kulusevski is this one. We saw everything about Kulusevski. We know how much we can expect and how much we cannot expect from him. He's good in terms of keeping the ball. He's strong in terms of his pace, in terms of physicality. But I don't think he's someone that can bring you something new, something more. Brennan Johnson has got instead a lot more in terms of potential, a lot more in terms of skills, a lot more in terms of goal. The first issue about Dejan Kulusevski is that he absolutely never attacked the space without the ball, attacked the space without the ball. This has to be something that Big Ange should work on it. Brennan Johnson, you saw it. You saw him attacking the space, attacking the second post. You saw the goal that on Tuesday he scored against West Ham. You saw the winner that scored against Brighton. You saw many times about it. So I think that Brennan is someone that you can bring on the Tottenham future in. I don't know if Kulusevski is the right man for the job in terms of the principles of play that Big Ange wants his team to play. So definitely, Brennan reminds me, even in terms of the timings that he shows how good he can be, about the prime Dele in some movements, in some skills. Dejan, I don't know if it's the right man. He's a great player, squad player, but I don't know if can be the top player that when he firstly came to the club, everyone thought that he could be one day.
Can I start so much? Do you think he's been found out? Because obviously that first season, no one had heard of him. Oh, well, I'm guessing they'd heard of him, but He just seemed
not
to
obviously Premier League wise.
Yeah, but he hit the ground running, didn't he? And then you sort of look at the second season, and maybe they just sort of worked him out because he does that thing. He cuts back in, doesn't he? Shoots on his other foot. I guess you do that enough times. So obviously there's so many amazing coaches in the Premier League. They just research that. They do all the research. That's what sometimes I feel that's. You can't fault his commitment. I've got to say that he
no,
gives
I don't think it's not the effort. I just think, Tim, for me, I don't know whether we've just found his natural position yet. I think, he said in the international break that for him, he would like to be played as more of a central player. We did that, obviously, in terms of when you look back at the, I think, was it West Ham game? We brought we've brought Maddison off twice now in the last couple of matches, and we've actually played him there. And I think that was the frustration, Davina, coming over to you, that it was practically non-existent, wasn't he, when he came on and playing that favoured role? I mean, you can argue it wasn't long enough that he had to actually adapt to that game. But is it a case that, with Kulusevski, he just needs more time in that position that he considers to be his preferred one?
That's what I was going to come on to. We've taken Maddison off, I think, twice in 2 games around the 70th minute. And I don't think it's enough time to judge Kulusevski in that position. But what I was pertaining to was more so that I think it was against Villa, we played Johnson, Son, and Kulusevski. Was that our front three? And
Villa.
Against Villa. And that was our most convincing win. And that was I really enjoyed that front three. And that's what I was thinking. I can see the comments going a bit mad that I was saying Kulusevski is better than Johnson and we should start him. But it was that was what I was pertaining to. And I think we saw that work well. I mean, off the back of Villa, I mean, we've fumbled against Fulham. We scraped past Luton. I think go back to that kind of formula and let's work with that, because we have very limited players and attacking options to begin with. So I think I'm backing Kulusevski because I think the scapegoating that is happening on his back is not the reason why we're losing games. So I'm a big fan of him. So I do think that he gets into those positions. I just think that he has the potential to show us the quality of footballer that he is.
So in your mind, Davina, you think there's a lot more for him to come. We haven't yet seen the very, very best of Dejan Kulusevski.
And right? I think the way that some of the fan base treats our players, I mean, like they did with Johnson, like they did with like they're now doing with Kulusevski, is just have some faith, because you know how good they are.
That's the thing with Kulusevski, isn't it? Because he's actually shown you, Simone, like you said there. I mean, I know you were a little bit unsure of him in regards to when he first came in, because I know you suggested the fact that obviously from your time and obviously knowing him in Serie A, you were a little bit unsure whether he would come in and make a difference. And obviously you can definitely take away the fact that, it does feel like he came in that first season. And as Tim said, no one really knew a lot about his game. And he surprised us all. Whereas maybe it's a case that we've been found out a little bit, obviously, since that first season. Do you think Simone needs to be playing that more predominant number 10 role off the forward? What do you think for you?
No. I'm someone that absolutely criticized the substitution that Big Ange made on Tuesday, changing James Maddison for Kulusevski, because we all saw Kulusevski coming in. I suppose it was gonna be 4-4-2 with Kulusevski maybe on the right, change of system. Kulusevski is not, guys, a number 10. Kulusevski is a number 7. He's a right wing that loves to cut inside with his left foot, but he's not a trequartist. He's not a number 10. He cannot play between the lines. Of course, he's got these strong legs, but he's not that kind of characteristic. So I was expecting something different from Big Ange against West Ham. Even because, of course, James Maddison, just like everyone is talking about after that injury against Chelsea, has not been at the same level of the one Madders that we used to love before the injury against Chelsea. But Madders is someone that knows how to change the game with one pass, with one assist, 10 minutes to go, 20 minutes to go, 15 minutes to go, a derby, away game, Olympic Stadium against West Ham. We can expect something more. And we couldn't expect that magic from Dejan Kulusevski. So, for me, if you want to build something special, something strong, Dejan could be a squad player. But unfortunately, guys, nothing more.
It's an interesting take there. I mean, Simone brings up James Maddison there.
Yeah.
You know, with regards to Maddison, obviously he's come off the last couple of games, and obviously Davina brought up there as well. Is it a case where, Tim, he needs to be played back into form, or can someone like Giovanni Lo Celso get himself really, really unlucky? They've not really had a lot of time to come on and basically be an alternative to him. He got given a couple of minutes against West Ham. I mean, in all honesty, what's a couple of minutes going to do for a player who needs to really kind of come back into it? Because every time he's wearing Argentina duty, he either scores or assists, and Messi tells us how amazing he is. He doesn't really get time at Spurs, and I'm not sure. I don't know if it's whether right for me to say he's been lied to here, but one of the main bases of him staying around this season was that Ange effectively said he's going to be guaranteed game time to some degree. And he hasn't really got that game time. So do you feel Lo Celso can count himself unlucky? Or is it a case that there's just so much hope in Maddison that ultimately that's why there hasn't been more minutes for Giovanni Lo Celso?
So first on Maddison. So again, I'm not claiming to be know what he was like at Leicester apart from watching match of the day. But I have my mate lives in Leicester. He did say that when he's come back from injury, it does take a bit of time to get back into form. That said, even when he's not on his game, this is where I agree with Simone to some extent. His passing is just unreal, isn't it? He can still put a cutting pass. He's not played great this season when he's come back from the Chelsea sort of situation. He put a cutting pass through, I think, for Son for a goal at one of the home games. I think that the thing is, because you know how good he can be, you want to keep faith with him, right? So there's on Lo Celso, the period when we were just really struggling with injuries. He did turn up, didn't he? A few goals. He was great when he came in. The problem with Lo Celso is he can't get a consistent run of games without getting injured. It just happens every time. And I think he's been quite unfortunate that, unlike if a Maddison gets injured, and he was so good at being a best player in the Prem in midfield for me at the start of the season, because he's got that behind him, you're probably going to give him more time. Whereas Lo Celso, it's not you're like out to get him, but if he gets injured, are you going to put him above Maddison? Unless Maddison has like 5 or 6 shockers in a row, then I guess you've got no choice. So I just think Maddison's going to get the benefit of the doubt, and I hope to God he does hit that form again, because he was so unfortunate. He was just unplayable, wasn't he? He was unbelievable, playing with confidence, hit the ground running, a little bit like Kulusevski last season when he sort of came in January. But you can just tell he's been hauled off the last 2 games. He's not happy about it, and I do like to see that, because you know he is not happy about it.
He cares, right? He cares.
He cares, and I just think I think a lot of Spurs fans have said the same thing. He's just born to be a Tottenham player, isn't he? I heard Paul Coit do his interview with him up in the H Lounge, and he's just great. You know, he gets it. I think Maddison, and you can just tell he loves being here, and he knows he's at a big club. So I'm more than happy for him to put faith in him, because by not doing that, are you going to put Lo Celso in? He will just get injured again. And again, Lo Celso's track record is just injury after injury after injury, isn't it? That's what I feel anyway. And long term, let's be honest. I mean, Maddison's there to stay, isn't he? So as long as we're getting results, be it we're turning games around, we're getting to losing positions at home. If we're getting results and he's contributing something, then I'm more happy to stick with him. For me,
it's interesting, Davina. I don't know what you kind of take on the Celso. So some are suggesting the fact that because he hasn't been available when needed upon, that again is obviously a negative trait in itself. But I don't know, you feel he can maybe count himself unlucky that he's not appeared more from the bench, given the fact that for Argentina, as I keep on saying, and many people know, he's a constant feature for those. He's always called up during the international breaks. Where are you on the Celso? And maybe a question on the back of that. Will we ever regret selling him? Or do you think he's had enough time to prove himself over these last 3-4 years?
I think this season he's not had a chance to prove himself, obviously due to our own fault of not being in as many competitions for a longer period of time as we'd have hoped. And I think that if we, for example, were in the Carabao Cup for longer than 1 game, then we would have played Lo Celso in rotation more. But one of the comments was completely right. Like, the best ability is availability, and if he's not there when the team needs him, then, like Tim said, if you're not there to prove yourself when your direct rival Maddison is there, knowing what Maddison has done for us, especially in like the first 11 games, he had like 3 goals, 5 assists, and he, like you said, was the best midfielder in the Prem at that time. And knowing that, he has credit in the bank to earn himself a position in the starting lineup. Whereas Lo Celso, I feel like if we just put him in instead of Maddison after he's not even had bad games, he's just not been up to par. So to put him in, I think there'd be complete outrage.
Can I just say as well, sorry to interrupt, but like, yeah, you got to look at it. So let's imagine, because again, as a squad player, had we not had Lo Celso come in and he did, he filled that role when Maddison was injured and was great, wasn't he? Scored goals, he contributed. So had we not had him, who else are we putting in there, right? So as a squad player, I'm more than happy to have him in there. It's whether he's happy to be a squad player, right? But yeah, you're absolutely right. The credit in the bank Maddison's got, and I just think, you know, we've seen the heights that you said about Maddison's par. Maddison's par is up there, isn't it? So if he's not playing absolutely phenomenal, you sort of think, well, hold on, he's not as good as he was. But when his good is like so good, that I think he kind of does get tarred with that a little bit because he's done so well in those first few games. Yeah, his par's way above anyone else's par. So
yeah,
you sort of know he's not
your own success. Because you know how good he is. If he's not up to that gold standard, then people are like, "Oh, he's lost it. Like he's not the same player he was." And but what again, Spurs fans will know the potential that he's got to change a game, and that's why he will continuously be in the starting lineup. And I think, as you said, Lo Celso, great squad player.
I mean, Simone, I'll bring you in as well. Look, again, the players obviously we're talking about here, you know them very, very well, obviously, during what you do in terms of the day job with relation to obviously your role there at Sport Italia as a pundit. You tell me, Simone, where are we for you on Lo Celso? Has he been enough time to prove himself? Should he have had more opportunities this season? What's your feeling on it for you?
First of all, I had got the shirt of Gio Lo Celso with number 18 when he firstly came to the club the last season of Mauricio Pochettino. The difference between Gio Lo Celso and James Maddison is the same one, guys, that Louis Solby had with Christian Eriksen. Gio is a last pass man. He knows how to get the assist, but he doesn't know how to handle the pace, the rhythm, how to dictate the rhythm of a game. James Maddison is the top player of this team. I would love to see one day Big Ange play both of them in the starting line. And Gio could play in a deeper role because if you remember, when Jose firstly came to the club, he used to play Lo Celso as a number 6, as a number 8, not as a number 10. So we already have the number 10, that is James Maddison. I'd love one day to see Gio play, for example, alongside Yves Bissouma, alongside Rodrigo Bentancur, or alongside the same Pape. So it's just about the situation of the game, the characteristics of the game. But of course, I'd love to see Gio get him more minutes. When Manders got injured against Chelsea, Gio was incredibly good against Villa, against Man City, with both goals, incredible goals. And in this season, we saw the best version of Lo Celso in the Lily White jersey. So why not? Why not? I'd love to see one day. I completely agree with both Tim and Davina when they were saying that Lo Celso is a squad player. Maybe this is the level of Gio, but it's someone that always provides the same energy, the same commitment to the team. And it is important to have someone like them in the dressing room. I think that the winning mentality go through this kind of characteristics.
Yep. It's a really interesting debate. I mean, look, you have to remember Spurs are going to add at least Steven Bergvall to that midfield debate next season. Of course, one that, again, we'll have a glimpse at pre-season. I've got to say, I'll be absolutely stunned if Lo Celso is a Spurs player next season, given the fact of the lack of minutes. I mean, we'll just do a quick round the table on that. I mean, Simone, very quickly, Lo Celso, do you think he'll stay at Spurs this summer, or do you expect him to move on, in your opinion?
I don't know. It depends all on the offers that Daniel Levy will receive on the table. It has to be the main target. I think that if Big Ange would like him to stay, but if Gio wants to be an Argentinian international, he wants to play international football, maybe he could be tempted by some clubs in La Liga, someone that can provide him a spot on the lineups. So we'll see what's gonna happen. But of course, we are talking about someone very, very unlucky in the past that got many long spells in Villarreal, for example. But at the end of the day, he managed, however, to make last Tuesday 100 appearances for the club. So great award. So I'm delighted for him.
Yep, interesting. I mean, Davina, very quickly for you, Lo Celso, would you imagine to be a Spurs player next season, or do you think this will probably be the summer where you finally move on from the football club, in your opinion?
I think he will move on just for more consistent minutes, more consistent playing time. I don't know if he was sold dreams at the beginning of the season. Again, with the combination of us not being in cup competitions for a long period of time, might have hindered the amount of minutes that he was able to collect in the Spurs shirt this season. But I think he'd be quite frustrated with the lack of playing time that he's had. So I do think that we'll see the end of Lo Celso's time at Spurs this season.
It's interesting because Davina brings it up there, Tim. You know, the reality is if Lo Celso and Spurs would have remained in those cup competitions, then I think Davina's spot on. You probably would have seen him got more minutes and really given a real test for Ange to maybe have a debate about whether there would be more of an alternative there to Maddison. But he simply hasn't got those minutes. I mean, gut feeling, Tim, do you reckon you'll be singing about him from the South Stand next season?
No, honestly, I think I would like, for the exact reason I said, when he, for someone to come in, because Maddison's, we've got quite a thin squad in terms of top quality. I would love him to stay because I just think he's proved himself when he came in. I don't think he will be there because I think he, like Simone said, I think he'll want minutes. And I think if I'm honest, he deserves to go somewhere else. A bit like the players we were trying to get off the books that we knew weren't going to get anyone in the starting lineup. He deserves a chance somewhere else, and I think the club will hopefully probably do that. But selfishly, I'd like him to stay as a squad player. Unless we go and sign, like I said, someone of a better standard. But because I think he's done enough this season. In a critical time when we needed someone to come in. And he hit the ground running. You got to say he's not played a lot of minutes at that point, and he just came in and did and was great. And it's one of those, isn't it? I think he's probably been at the club too long, and it just hasn't happened for him for too long. So I think he probably will move on, mate. In my honest opinion.
Okay, listen, one to keep an eye on. In a second, we've got Anthula joining us from the Save Our Seniors fan movement. And before Anthony does come in, just to give you a bit of a glimpse in terms of Spurs releasing their financial results for, of course, the year. That was for the 22-23 season. I mean, look, the captures away from that really, and we'll be going into this in a bit more detail during one of the upcoming weeks in terms of our feature shows where, of course, Spurs aren't playing against Man City. So we've got a show we'll be drilling right down into the financial results and the elements behind them. But look, it wouldn't be right of me to give you an insight of what's taken and happened over the course of those results being announced. And it's been admitted by Daniel Levy. The club are in talks with potential investors after the latest set of financial results brought a record revenue of 549.6 million, but also a loss of 86.8 million. And I say those results were announced for the 22-23 financial year. And it shows that for the first time, the club's revenue at their cash-generating stadium rose above $500 million. And again, an increase of 24% from the previous year's 444 million to 549.6 million. And that included the match receipts of 117.6 million, up from the previous year of 106.1 million. Daniel Levy said our turnover has exceeded $500 million for the first time. Whilst our UEFA money's contributed, this has been driven by increased stadium revenue from both football and non-football events and additional revenue streams. This is the impact of our multi-use stadium and what our board has been focused on delivering in order to invest in our football in a financially sustainable manner. The absolute priority for our club is to deliver on-pitch success. The chairman on further to say that he admits the board and advisors, along with Rothschild and co., are in discussions with prospective investors as Spurs need to continue to invest in the team and undertake future capital projects, and the club requires a significant increase in its equity base to do so. I mean, look, there'll be a lot of stuff that the club would like to, in an ideal way, not publish in regards to their financial results. But if you do dig a bit deeper, you will note that Daniel Levy was paid 3.581 million last year, up from 3.265 million in the previous year, and received an accrued bonus of 3 million paid across the year. And the Spurs chairman received that 3 million bonus back in 2019 upon the completion of the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. There'll be an argument that on the back of last season, was it right Daniel Levy got a bonus of that nature? Again, as the audience and viewers and listeners, we'll leave you to decide that, and we'll dig a bit deeper in a couple of weeks' time. But the recent estimates of the increase the club would receive in season ticket sales next season from the 6% bump to prices was placed at between 2.5 million and 3 million. And he went on to finish off Daniel Levy by saying the club remains fully compliant with the Premier League profit and sustainability rules and is supportive of the enhancement of PSR to ensure the Premier League remains competitive and sustainable. He went on to say we have operated on a financially sustainable basis and can now optimise the true value of key assets, the unrivaled facilities, our multi-use stadium and our training campus, which now includes our recently opened Clubhouse Media Centre, hosting XR stage technology. This is already enhancing the level and quality of our content for fans, will provide additional revenue opportunities. Levy signed off by saying, our ethos is clear, to be far-sighted and run the club sustainably. This involves strict control of our cost base, increased commercial and sponsorship revenues, and consistent European participation, all of which are key to our ability to continue to invest in the squad and, wait for it, win top honours. Davina, just to come to you very quickly, I know you've got a piece hopefully coming very, very soon with regards to the financial statement. I won't want to dive too much into it with you, but any real takeaways you want to highlight there from your perspective?
Yeah, of course. So a lot of people are wondering how Levy's dealings are keeping us sort of like on par with the financial fair play stuff. And it can be quite difficult for someone who hasn't got like intensive financial knowledge to understand. So I actually have a piece coming out delving more into financial fair play in the Premier League and then also onto the financial statement, which was just released by Tottenham. So keep an eye out. I'll be posting that on my Twitter, which will explain it in more like everyone can understand it language rather than all this like technical jargon.
Simplistic.
Yeah, just so like you can talk about it on a normal level rather than including all of this complicated language to confuse everyone. So that'll be coming out I think in the next week or so to keep an eye out.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, you guys. I'm just complicated reading it, let alone bloody saying it. So look, what we are going to do, we are going to go for our next break of the show for our listeners and audio. When we come back, we've got the wonderful Anthula joining us from the Save Our Seniors campaign, giving us a bit more detail. We'll be back with you in a couple of minutes. Take you into this break. You're going to hear from the wonderful Tim Winstone over at Spurs Song Sheet.
There's a man who's magic on the ball. He plays with Tottenham Hotspur and he comes from Senegal. There's a
There you go, the wonderful Timmy Winstone over at Spurs Song Sheet. Listen, we're joined by Simone, Dell'Uomo, we're joined by Davina, Pindoria. We're also joined by Tim Winstone, who, look, like me, it's father duties. He's got to quickly rush off. He'll be back in a second, but delighted to be welcoming to the panel for an update on where we are with the Save Our Seniors campaign. We've got the wonderful Anne Fuller, who's literally running it like the engine over there. Anne Fuller, lovely to have you rejoin us. How are you? You well, firstly?
I'm good, thank you. I had an exam today, so very, very tired. But thank you for letting me come on again. I really, really appreciate it to spread this really important message. So thank you.
No problem at all. Our pleasure. Look, Anthony, it would have been well widely known by the Spurs fans that were inside the stadium last week, the message that was being transcended. I'm sure you've been pleasantly, I wouldn't say surprised, but obviously happy with the way that was received by the fans and the way there was the reaction there. So give me your take on that and what the plan is ahead of, again, another home game for Spurs this weekend, and what you want to see from your perspective.
Yeah, so it was absolutely incredible. We had a lot of fans come and help us leaflet outside the stadium 2 hours before the 2 hours before the game. Basically, we handed out 20,000 leaflets, so it was a real good slog. We just handed it around everywhere. People were coming up talking to us about what it was about. People were actually like changing their directions of where they were walking as well. So like they'd be walking down and they'd see it and they'd come over to talk to us, which is really brilliant to spread the word. And then it looked incredible inside. I think around like 10,000, 11,000 people turned around. Most of the South did, most of the North Lower, and I think East Lower as well. So really, really good turnout. I was really we were all really, I can't really explain what I mean. Basically, it was really nice to see so many people turn around. It gave me confidence in the fact that fans can come together like this against something like this. So yeah, it was brilliant. We also had a flag up in the away end at West Ham. I don't know if you guys saw that, but that was on the news as well. And we've had good media coverage. So it's been brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Our plan for this weekend is exactly the same thing. So we'll be handing out leaflets again. So if anyone wants to volunteer, we could really use the bodies. And we're asking for the same thing again. So turn round on 65. We appreciate that some people didn't know when it was 65 coming up because people were watching the game or people might not have known about it. So what we want to try and do this time is add a chant to it. Now, apologise, my voice isn't the best, but it's to the stand up if you hate Arsenal chant. So it's turn round for the seniors, turn round for the seniors. So we want everyone to be doing that. So that's the update. I don't know if I tried to do it really quickly because I know I'm gate crashing your night. So, yeah.
No problem at all. Listen, that's absolutely fine. I mean, I'm sure, look, and the more that cause gets around, the more there's the opportunity to obviously have that transcended, obviously around the news, around the media, which I'm sure is going to gain coverage. I mean, ultimately, based on the fact you would have seen those financial results come out of this week, and I think, to put it politely, when you see Daniel's bonus, which I know, again, it's one of those things that as a chairman of the Premier League, that has to be declared. When you consider, obviously, what he's making in terms of the accrued bonus, it's roughly the same amount of what it would be costing for the, obviously, season ticket price hike, which I'm sure from your perspective, you look at the senior concessionary case. I know you did have a response back from the Premier League, right, in terms of, I believe, the trust did when they did go to the Premier League with regards to that. I mean, can you see there being any real genuine movement, or is it a case of just really keeping the pulses and the accelerator on to try and see if there can be that removal in relation to this?
So obviously the optics around Daniel Levy's bonus don't look good when they come out and you do the maths around it. I think you said earlier, 3 million, which is around the estimate for the increase in prices. So yeah, not great optics really. I think we need to keep applying pressure. I think what we saw on the weekend was a really positive start to a movement, and we want to keep building, and we're not going away. This will continue and we'll keep growing. And we're hoping that now that it's gotten out there and we've got so much traction in the media, that more people will know about it. So the next time round this weekend, when it happens, more people will be doing it. And hopefully that can apply pressure. So we're applying pressure that way. The trust have, like you said, they've sent an email to sent a letter to the Premier League, and they've sent a letter very recently to some people in Parliament as well, to try and apply pressure that way through independent regulation through football. So we're going to keep going with it, and we need to build, and we're hoping that this this gains traction, it's not just an attack on senior concessions, it's an attack on all concessions. If they get away with this, they can actually go for the young adult category as well. There's nothing to say they're not going to get rid of that, because it's not like they've gotten rid of senior concessions and then made it more accessible for younger fans to come. They haven't done that. So they don't like concessions at the club. And it's a very dangerous precedent to be setting to getting rid of one proportion of concessions. There's nothing to say they won't get rid of another.
Okay, so just finally, for those that want to get involved, where can people find Save Our Seniors? And if they want to know more and how they can get involved and help, how can they do that and where can they do that?
Yeah, so we are on Twitter. It's Save Our Senior 66. It's the same for Facebook. And our email is saveourseniors4@gmail.com. Please do get involved. The way this kind of works is essentially we hold a meeting, on a really informal meeting online with people that have emailed in, and we kind of have a chat about where to go next with it. So this is a movement that is just organically being driven by fans, like-minded fans. So we really appreciate opinions and we really appreciate ideas and any skills that you can bring to try and get this going further. It'll be brilliant.
Well, look, and there's around 1,500 watching this live currently. They're across YouTube, Insta, X, and Facebook. So look, hopefully people can get involved and obviously can come to you, contact the relevant parties, as you said there, and help. Anthula, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us, and I'm sure you'll keep us updated in relation to any further updates. So again, thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to having you back on Last Word on Spurs really, really soon. Thank you again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Anthula. Very, very great to hear from Anthula. Right, guys, just a very quick reminder for all you here that we are delighted on Last Word on Spurs to just give a mention to Literacy Pirates. Now, just to take a small point of your time out about Literacy Pirates, that they're based next to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and they help local children aged 9 and 12 who are falling behind in school and a few opportunities in their personal lives. They run an after-school program from pirate-themed spaces to help children develop their reading and writing skills and also their confidence and perseverance, so that when they make mistakes or face challenges, they can pick themselves up and keep on going. They are also professionally publish the children's writing so that children have something they can take away home and keep to remind themselves of their achievements. They really do rely on volunteers to work one-to-one in small groups with the children to help them practice reading, writing, and provide encouragement and celebrate their achievements, no matter how small they are. As a reference, they are looking for volunteers. So for those that want to get involved that are based near the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, their programs run 3:45 to 6:45 p.m. Monday to Friday. Volunteers don't need any experience at all whatsoever. You can get involved by going to their email address of volunteering@literacypirates.org, or you can contact them or find out more details via their website, which is literacypirates.org/volunteer. A really good cause to get behind, guys. So we encourage you to do so. What we are going to do for our listeners on audio, we are going to go for our final break of this show. And take you into that break, you are going to hear from Greg from the Garibaldi Nottingham Forest podcast, who give you their thoughts ahead of Forest to come. And that is where we're turning our attention to next. I'm joined by on this show, Tim Winstone, Davina, Pindoria, and Simone Dell'Uomo. Thank you so much, guys. Like I say, really enjoying this one. We are going to now look ahead to Nottingham Forest to come in the Premier League if we can. Simone, I'm going to open the segment with you. Look, it is the Nuno derby. It is Nuno coming back to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, which, you know, again, will spark many different kinds of memories, frustration of periods for Nuno when he was at Tottenham. But look, ultimately, Forest gave their Premier League survival hopes a massive boost in midweek. But of course, they now face that tough task of coming to Tottenham to see if they can follow up with an away victory. They have gone 6 games without a win in all competition and slumped to the drop zone after a Premier League points deduction. But they obviously got that crucial win that we saw against Fulham that came in the midweek. What kind of Forest side, Simone, are we facing in your mind? And will this be a genuine test for Tottenham, given Forest's pretty much horrendous away record?
Well, if you want to finish it top 4, you need to win the game. So it's not about playing well, playing entertaining football. The most important thing, guys, is to stop conceding on set pieces, because time and time again, this current squad is conceded on set pieces. It happened against Everton. It happened against Man City in the Cup, and it happened in the week against West Ham. So I'm expecting maybe a very tough game, maybe a proper Nuno, well-organized team on the counter-attacks, but we'll see what's going to happen. Spurs technically are the better side in the pitch, so I'm expecting a Spurs win, but we'll see what's going to happen. And if you saw me a couple of minutes ago celebrating, it was Mauricio Pochettino that conceded a goal. And of course, Man United are playing for a top four finish with Villa and the Spurs. But when Poch conceded, I'm always smiling.
It's not good for our top four chances, though, Simone. It's 3-2 to United from 2
Yeah,
late down.
I know.
Good to know Simone's not too bitter, right?
I know, absolutely no. But when you
That's
talk
proper
about
bit in that. I like it.
Okay.
No, listen, I'm the same as you, Simone. I'll be honest with you, I don't really consider United a genuine threat for that top four race. But I think, listen, again, why can't we take some pride in Chelsea's demise when they take enough pride in Spurs' demise? I must say. I mean, look, if I can come around to you, Davina, I mean, like I said, Nuno coming back to the Spurs stadium, what kind of welcome, if any, do he'll get, Davina? Would he get an applause? What do you think?
I think the fan base is a bit indifferent because his time at Tottenham was extremely and laughably short. I think that the appointment was just baffling to all of us as fans.
I think even to himself. I think even he was surprised.
I think it was kind of like, well, okay, I'm wanted by Tottenham Hotspur. Of course, I'm going to jump at the opportunity, and whatever happens. I think that was the attitude that he came in with, and fans were just. I was genuinely confused, and obviously we went off to a flying start under Nuno. We went like 3 wins on the bounce, and that was wicked.
Can I say, Davina, I don't want to let you come back in there. I mean, but the fact they were all 1-0, and then he won the manager of the month. I mean, it was like the most bizarre situation. I mean.
And then we went to Palace, and it all went very wrong.
Yeah, I remember, like, we beat City without Kane. That was like
that was incredible.
Was like, he's the solution.
Yeah. Do you remember that chart? Are you watching Harry Kane that day in the stadium when Sonny scored? I mean, it was just like it was unbelievable because I mean I don't know if anyone felt this is the start of like a new era, but I mean Nuno just seemed absolutely like just in awe. I mean, I remember at full time he was waving around the ground. It was like amazing. Yeah, it was amazing celebrations. And look, I mean, I don't know whether the job was too big for him or again, I mean, at that time, Davina, I mean, it was the start of the club being I say it wasn't a past case beforehand, but it's just drama, wasn't it? Drama.
It's like the best way I can describe it is like a fever dream. I just can't believe that period of supporting the club happened. But it's not just, it's not just the Nuno derby. It's like the Brennan Johnson derby as well.
That's a good point.
Because I remember when we played Forest, I don't know whether there were boos. Well, I could hear it through the TV.
There was a few. There was definitely a few from, wasn't there? There was music.
Yeah, and didn't he go off injured?
Yes, he finished it. Yeah, he
was
very early on, wasn't it?
There was a quick change of attitude, and everyone started clapping him because he went off injured. But so we've got a couple of occasions coming up on Sunday. So it'll be an interesting game.
It will be. I mean, Tim. Feel weird me asking you say this because when I look at the Spurs' recent home run of games, we haven't won them by more than I think a goal or two at most. I mean, I think you have to go back to Bournemouth on New Year's Eve now for the last time Spurs won by more than a couple of goals at home. I mean, look, I had people on here last week for Luton saying 4-1, 5-1, 6-1. I mean, what do you think, Tim? I mean, will this be a comprehensive win? What can you see from Forest?
To be honest, I mean, our records at home is pretty good. I mean, I think it was last year we weren't in great form, and then we turned them over 3-1, didn't we? I think at home.
Yeah.
Another Richie goal that wasn't got out. How many in a row did he have? And just like, it's so lucky, the guy. I'm really confident. I think, which is stupid because we're going to go 1-0 down again, aren't we? Clearly. I just think the fact that the style of football we play, if we go 1-0 down, the only time it hasn't kind of worked is Wolves when we conceded first, we equalised. I was watching at a friend's house with 10 Spurs fans, and I was just, it'll be 4-1, 5-1, and it just didn't happen. We lost 2-1. But most of these other games against you sort of like bottom, let's say mid-table downwards, we've managed to sort of go to the end, whether it's luck or whatever, we've turned them around. So even if we do go behind, I'm still confident because we've done it, and the players know they've done it in the past. They can come back. Wouldn't we all just love? I know Maddison said, just want a 3-0. It'd be great with it. Early goal, don't go behind.
even like a 2-0, just to be able
Just
to enjoy
normal.
them.
A
We've
clean
got-
sheet.
Game,
Clean
please.
sheet. I think Spurs have had 2 clean sheets in the last 22 games. I mean, it's unbelievable to think a club like that, in those clean sheets, are in the midst of a title, are in the midst of
Nice.
taking the title there, in the midst of a top 4 race. It's unbelievable, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't probably get, so I'm actually playing in the, just a little plug. I'm playing in the Shelf Bar on Sunday for the. It's again weird kick-off 6 o'clock. I quite like it. It'll be under lights and stuff. I'm sure everyone will be having a few beers watching the game in the day, so it'll be great atmosphere in there. But I just remember I played with my drummer at the Brentford game, and you're sort of thinking, do you know what? This will be fine. We do the set before, great. We go 1-0 down, an absolute shock of a first half, and then by the time that I packed away my guitar for second half to go and watch, like after about 5 minutes, we were like 2-1 up already. And that 10-minute period was just immense, wasn't it?
They've got that in them, haven't they, Tottenham? They've got the opportunity to score twice in a couple of minutes. That double salvo, they've got that in them. Yep.
And as much as it frustrates us and it's horrible when we don't get a result, it is exciting to think we could just score at any point. It's one of those horrible but great things in a weird way. But I just wanna result. We know with the results at that point. Just a 4-1. Give me a Newcastle at home. That was a comprehensive win, wasn't it? Give me another one of those. We need. I think for the fans' heart rates, for their health, for their mental health, we just need a normal victory if possible. Any victory will do, but a normal victory.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree on that. I mean, Simone bringing you in, look, King Honor there very kindly shares it for us. They've won 2, lost 9 of their last 15 away games. I think when you look at them generally, Forest, they have lost 7. Well, they've 7 matches without a win on the road in 2024. How do you feel, Simone, about this game for Spurs against Forest? Should it be a comprehensive home win?
We'll see what's gonna happen. Of course, they won a massive game for them against Fulham on the week. They are very, very informed in terms of the wingers, because Hudson-Odoi scored an incredible goals, just like the former Wolves wing Gibbs White. So we need to be we need to pay great attention in terms of don't concede counter-attacks. I'm expecting a proper Nuno game, guys. A proper Nuno game, a very, very low blocks, stuff like that, second balls, things like that. They are struggling. They are fighting for avoiding the relegation. So we'll see. But of course, Spurs technically, just like I said before, are the better side in the pitch.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of Forest going into the game, you look at those, obviously, Gibbs White is the one man. You'd say one definitely to keep an eye on. Callum Hudson-Odoi limped off against Fulham, but it looked to be a case of the former Chelsea winger putting in really one hell of a shift as opposed to being injured. So you'd imagine he will be available. I mean, Forest don't have a great record of this fixturing late. They've won just one of the last 9 meetings. That victory came in the League Cup last season, which I won't remind everybody of because I'm still trying to get over it myself. For those that know how much I love cup games. But Forest have won just 2 of their last 25 away games in the Premier League since winning their first one under Nuno on Boxing Day against Newcastle. I mean, Davina, I'm sitting here reading these stats. I mean, I know so we shouldn't have anything to worry about, but I mean, we shouldn't have anything to worry about, should we? Or is it with Tottenham that we do worry?
Enter Dr. Tottenham. That's the saying, isn't it?
Oh, you know what? Yeah,
that's the saying, isn't it? Enter Dr. Tottenham.
Absolutely, absolutely.
To fix you. I think in that I was looking at the stats before for Nottingham Forest as well. Like King Hoddle has said, like they've got 10 points in their last 15 games, and in that period, I think they've conceded 30 and scored 16. So it's going to be an exciting game. Let's just and they've got Wood up front, so those set pieces are going to have to be well defended. None of that happened on Tuesday, and we're all just hanging our heads in shame, like, oh, shock, we've conceded from a set piece, which we all know is going to happen.
Yeah, 100%.
But I think both teams don't know really how to defend set pieces. Didn't they concede to a set piece against Fulham?
They did. I mean, I think that definitely is a worry with us, isn't it? Simone, bringing you in if I can. The worry is you look at Spurs from set pieces. I think that's one area that we've seen recently. Again, we saw it against West Ham, that Spurs seem gettable. Is that a concern for you, Simone, that is a reoccurring issue at Tottenham at the moment?
Yeah, but not just about Chris Wood. I absolutely agree what King Hoddle was writing behind us. But it's not just about Chris Wood. that is a fantastic striker in the air. He can play for Nottingham Forest, but nothing more. But he's absolutely stunning in the air. But this team needs to improve in terms of defending on the set pieces, because you saw against Everton, you saw against Man City. I upset that in this kind of entertaining football, attacking football, flourish football that Tottenham wanted to be back to play after years of Jose Mourinho and Antonio Conte. Of course, I upset it, but you need to improve in terms of defending on set pieces, free kicks, lateral free kicks, low blocks, corners, stuff like that. It's not possible to concede the way that Spurs conceded against West Ham. Zuma jumped between Cuti Romero and Mickey van de Ven, that are two of the best center backs in the league, and it's not possible. So I could upset in terms of okay, you are attacking, you are playing front foot football, but you can avoid this kind of situation. And we are talking about important situation in the league, important games in the league. We are in the spring, we are on April, we are on the final rush, so we should avoid this kind of situations.
Amen. Simone, sorry I meant to do it to you. Let's get your prediction. What you're going to go for?
Absolutely.
Prediction?
I
I was going to go absolutely no, not a chance. No, sorry, Ricky. Sorry.
No, sorry. 3-1 for Tottenham.
3-1 for okay. 3-1 for Tottenham. And Sapone, I always say all the time, mate, listen, we love having you join us. This is the man, this is the man that when Spurs, as you all guys know, in the summer when we signed Vicario, and everyone was saying we should have signed David Raya, this was the man that said, keep calm. Vicario was going to be an absolute blinder, and he has been. And Simone, you have been right, my man. Where can everybody find you? Where can they find the wonderful work you do?
Of course, as always, guys, on Instagram, Simone, Dell'Uomo, 21. So whenever you wish, guys, I'm always there, available for you. And it's always a privilege, guys, to be back on. And I always thanks my brother Ricky to call me up.
Love for the love, my man. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure. Davina, lower to you back on. You're here, there, and everywhere. I mean, if you're not out the country or in the country, you're on podcast somewhere. Before we ask you where you're going to be on podcast, give us your prediction ahead of this one.
I'm going 2-1, and it's going to be the classic blueprint Tottenham Hotspur that we go 1-0 down, and then we come back in the second half. I'm sorry, but if history has taught us anything, it's to have faith in Tottenham's second half.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree on that. I totally agree. Davina, where can all the thousands, millions find you when you're not on holiday gallivanting?
You can find me mainly on X. That's where I live my life. Davina_THFC, and frequently on No Ratings podcast and Round the Wall.
Amazing. Look, we love having you on, Davina. Thank you so much for your time. Always appreciate it. Tim, we're going to close it with you just in a second formally. Before we do, where can everybody find you situated, maybe for the game? And there goes a prediction, Tim.
Yeah, obviously fortunate enough to play at the ground quite clearly. So I'll be at the Shelf Bar, sort of switch around a bit like James I know has been on the show. So we switch around between the White Hart and the Shelf Bar. I'll be in the Shelf Bar from 4. Ground opens at 4, so probably about 4:15 before the game, and then till about 9:30 after the game, which is East Level 1, Block 120. It's right around the corner from the South Stand. So if you're in the South Stand, come have a sing song. We've done it a bit different this time. So a lot of the songs, as you know, the whole point about what we do is to try and get fans to sing them. A lot of our chants have got to the ground. I've actually, with a guy, I'm going to put a shout out at Henners. So me and him are kind of writing some verses to some of these songs, because you sing the Sonny song and you mix it with a verse of the original from the Cranberries, which is an anti-war song. It doesn't quite work. So we're going to have something a bit special this weekend. So we're going to have a lot of our songs. So your gimme gimmies are going to be sort of full Spurs rewritten nonsense songs. Wow. But you can find me at we're at Spurs Song Sheet for all the sort of like latest songs and chants that come out. All the songs you've heard tonight are on an album I put out on SoundCloud, which is just Tim_Winstone, and on YouTube. So most of it will go onto YouTube. So we've got the guy called at THFC Frank on TikTok and on Twitter does our videos. It's got like the player's song and a nice the lyrics behind the songs. So you can just go to at Tim_Winstone on YouTube, and and then just a quick little plug. So I've got to put a shout out to Sean from Las Vegas. Tottenham Hotspur Supporters Club. So I'm going to Vegas for a week in May, 8th to the 15th. And I reached out to him. He obviously, I had no idea he knew what we were. And he's like, of course I know who you are. So I'm going to go do an acoustic set in Vegas in, I think it's the Crown and Anchor.
Listen, will you come back from Vegas? I mean, the thing is, if you go over there, will you want to come back?
I don't quite, but luckily I'm trying to get some sort of gigs out there as well, and he happens to be sort of connected to the nightlife, so it's just a great connection. But yeah, so I'll be in the Crown and Anchor for the Burnley game on the 11th of May at 7 a.m. We're going to sing some Spurs Song Sheet songs, possibly after No Sleep and No Sleep the night after if we get a win, because that's the penultimate game, and that's going to certify us top 4 for me. So prediction, I'm going to go 4-1. I'm going to go. We're going to turn up. We're going to smash the team this week.
I love that. And it's funny. I mean, Tim, obviously, Destiny knows his song, doesn't he? I mean, he was asked about it on Match of the Day recently. And he knows we want to dance with a doggy, right?
He does. So if you've seen Football Focus, it's still very bizarre for me. So we put a song out. The song was played earlier. And not only does he know it, he sung the lyrics on Football Focus, which is just absolutely incredible. So, but what he does do, Rick, and I'm sure everyone knows, the players listen to this show. They listen to every player wants a song about themselves. Maddison came out and said it. So the Chase the Maddison song is the one he chose because the club interviewed him about it. So the more we get these songs sung, the more the atmosphere improves, the more we cheer our team on to come back from losing positions at home games, which is what's happening at the moment. So
it's spot. I think again that's another reason why. Look, I know for us, we try and be as upbeat as we can about the podcast. We're very acutely aware there's a lot of obviously the players' families that listen and watch the show, and I think again, for us, it is about trying to tell it as it is, but at the same time, there is that element that we want to get behind the team, and I think again, look, there's plenty of decent traits this season that show you that we're in the right direction. It has been frustrating at times. It has been inconsistently up and down. And that's why when someone listening to Sim and Davina and Tim place their predictions, and again, they're shouting, thinking, why can't we have more comprehensive wins? It's bloody Tottenham Hotspur, right? And we're in the first season of yet another transition season.
We're just waiting to, again, I'm sure we've not been like 2-0 up in like 10 minutes, have we? I can't remember the last time that happened. We need something like that. And then you see the players, the whole Ange Ball thing will just kick in because they have the confidence. And then, I agree because I know McQueen's an absolute optimist like me. We will turn a team over like 6-7-1. It'll happen soon, but I'm hoping it'll be this weekend. I thought it was Luton. It absolutely wasn't. But
we all keep saying this. We'll see. We've got the big games on the horizon. But look, Forest focus now for sure. Look, I'm going to say a massive thank you. Simone, my man, thank you as always. Have to be back on Last Word on Spurs. Keep safe, keep well. Thank you, mate.
Thank you, guys. Absolutely a privilege, as always.
Pleasure. Thank you. Davina, thank you. Always a pleasure having you back on here. Listen, let's keep our fingers crossed right for a good end of the season.
Thank you for having me back. Lovely evening. Thank you.
Oh, our pleasure as always. And Tim, thank you so much. Tim's going to play us out. So our watching audience here, guys, thank you so much. Over a couple of thousand of you watch us live across Instagram, across Facebook, across YouTube, across all of our socials. Thank you again for all your support for the show. Closing us out is the wonderful Tim Winstone over at Spurs Song Sheets, if I can say it rightly. From us all here, keep safe, keep well, and as always, come on you Spurs.
and the